Going into the second quarter of the year, fundamentals appear to be pointing towards rate increases as inflation will likely accelerate towards 18 to 19% as the lean season drives food prices higher with additional support from a mix of higher energy costs following hikes in fuel and electricity prices. Now I have joining me live via phone from Abuja to give insights and in-depth analysis to the current burning economic issues, basic macroeconomic fundamentals. He is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Dignity Finance and Investment Limited, Dr. Cjijioke Ekechukwu. Dr. Ekechukwu, thank you very much, and it's good to have you join us this Monday.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure joining you too.
Yeah, let me start with the question this way. You saw, I'm sure you followed through with all of the deliberations at the MPC meeting last week. And you saw the resolution after all of the talk and all of the talks. Now, what do you make of this decision made by the committee? Many said they were left with no choice than to just keep all rates unchanged. How does this come to you?
Yes. Some people would think that considering the increase in inflation rate, that the FPC would have increased the MPR. But I also knew they were going to retain because the circumstances that would lead to an increase of the rate would actually work against all the efforts made concerning other fundamentals. For example, if the MPC had increased the MPR by any measure, of course, all the efforts the CBN made in the past to be able to reduce interest rates would have been defeated. And so, because all the fundamentals were being retained, of course, we just came out of a recession, even though marginally, they needed to sustain the efforts made in order for us to have retained the recession, the growth pattern that we have experienced. So it was expected that CBN was going to retain all the rates because they wanted to just apply, just like people say, when there is a winning team, just keep them together. And so the policy that kept that got us out of recession should just be maintained. That was just their thinking.
Now, we are grappling with a lot when, lately we just got the unemployment figures, which also came out not looking good, 33.3%. And that was followed by inflation. Many thought that all of these fundamentals would have caused, maybe made them have a rethink. Now, how well would you assess the management and stability of the currency, all of the efforts we made by the Apex Bank? How well would you assess it at the moment?
I wish most of the solutions would have come from the FS Bank. Probably by now would have been looking better than we are currently. There are so many circumstances that are beyond their control. Some of them are coming from the fiscal side. Some of them are coming from the insecurity of the country. But the essence they are managing, of course, all the interventions they have been doing and the exchange rate, which has stabilized a little, even though still very high, are still things that they could do a little better and more. But beyond what the central bank is doing through the monetary policy, there's still a lot to be experienced through the fiscal side and, of course, through making sure that the insecurity in the country gets better. Those are the things that may have affected the level of unemployment that we are experiencing today. Recall that a lot of people lost their jobs when there was a lockdown, and most of these institutions have not really reopened since then. And the cost of doing business increased to the extent that many companies are not able to bear this cost. So some of the costs are coming from the high exchange rate. Some of them are also coming from the level of inflation that is coming up now. And so because of that, some companies have shut down. Small businesses have also closed down because they won't be able to cope with the cost of doing business in the country and competing with imported products. So all these things put together were enough to actually increase the unemployment rate. And that is just what we're going through and we're facing right now.
Many will say government need to do more. That's talking about the fiscal side. If you were to talk about that, what more do you think should be done? CBN talked about more than 1 trillion naira being spent on the agri sector. Now, if the fiscal side is to complement what the monetary side has been doing all of the way, what do you think in specifics? What are these deliberate policies that will, one, create jobs, and of course make us attract more investment?
Yes. There are so many things that can be done from the fiscal side. The areas of ensuring that all the tax holidays that we've been expecting for new businesses and the pioneer status, which actually has been there. If, for example, the country makes it clear and known to new businesses that, look, for the first 3 years they're going to do business, nobody's going to charge you any tax. That will go a long way to reduce the cost of doing business by these particular entrepreneurs. But that aspect has not been actualized. The policy is there, but I still have not seen how well that has helped new businesses. And we also expect that leverages should be given to businesses to borrow money and at almost no high rate. When that happens, we expect also that will help a lot of people to get into employment ladder. But if enough of that is not happening, then we still continue to say the same thing and move around the same cycle over and over again. So those are the things we expect. To be able to handle the aspect of taxation, which has killed businesses. Each time we talk about multiple taxation, we just say it, and it looks like it enters from one ear to another, and no solution comes. When we talk about multiple taxation, you will see the federal government will bring their own taxes, the state government will bring their taxes, and then the local government will bring their taxes. And it's killing. It kills businesses. And we expect that entire arms of government should come together and just decide to streamline the taxes that should be paid by pioneer business or by MSMEs. So that, because the monies that will turn around the economy shouldn't really come from the MSMEs. There are businesses that have stayed there and are doing heavy transactions. Let them get more of those taxes from there, so that the businesses that are just starting and are doing well should just be allowed to coast and even get themselves employ more and more people before they start taxing them. I can tell you, you and I and many Nigerians know that an average business running in Nigeria, especially in Abuja and Lagos, has up to 20 taxes and levies and fees to pay to various arms of government. That is not, we cannot be appropriating and reprobating. You cannot be wanting to make business, make employment grow, and yet we are bringing policies that are killing the same business. So that is exactly what I think we need to work on to ensure that businesses start springing up again. We have seen what happened when the current president of Ghana came into power. He removed most of the taxes and removed most of them. The outcome of what we're having here today in that country, having a growth percentage of about 7% today, GDP growth of about 7%, is just as a result of the kind of entrance strategy he used when he started as president. We need to be purposeful in our decision making in order for us to attract more businesses.
Now, it's been a very busy year despite COVID-19 second wave and all of that, Dr. Ekechukwu. And we know of AFCFTA, which a lot of expectations as we look at it, that very big market that is attracting Nigerians. Now, and on the other side, we have WTO headed by Nigeria, and now the Director General, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. What do you make of our trade and regulatory policies, or what can we really do so that we can take our place in all of these markets?
Yeah, for us to really take our place, we need to be a net exporter of goods and services. We need to be a net exporter of services. The balance of trade that we have now that is in large deficit level will not give us any opportunity to benefit so well from all the trade agreements that are being signed here and there every time. So if our local industries are not manufacturing, if our local capacities are not growing, then it will be difficult for us to benefit from this. And don't forget that with the high inflation rate of this country today, it will make it attractive for goods to be imported instead of being exported. So if the inflation rate is so high, you'll see that there's going to be dumping. People are going to be bringing in goods from outside and bringing in instead of just manufacturing from here, because when you manufacture locally, the cost of manufacturing will just be very high, and it will be difficult for us to compete with imported goods. So the only way we can benefit from all the trade agreements signed will just be to be net manufacturers, net exporters of goods. That is just the way. And then, of course, we know that even our neighboring countries have more manufacturing capacities than Nigeria, and more electricity, better power and energy than Nigeria. So what we're expecting to happen right now is that many countries are going to be setting up their plants within our neighbors, within the West African neighbors and African neighbors, in order for them to start moving in goods into Nigeria. The cost of doing business is very epileptic. The cost of doing business in Nigeria is very high, and so they will prefer to stay around African countries and manufacture there and then come in here. So you will now see that most of the economic growth experienced by our neighbors, this Nigeria would have been growing, but just because they prefer to do business with the neighboring countries and bringing the products into Nigeria, because we have the large market, that's actually what you're seeing today being experienced.
All right, let's now stay with trade. I'd like to ask you, many complain that we also need to have a reform with regards to our customs and some of our law enforcement agencies to be able to speed up this process. Okay, late last week, the NEPC and NPA tried to do some things to smoothen exports and all of that. We still have all of these challenges. Now, what do you think needs to be done in that aspect so that it's seamless?
Yeah, you see, having to grow our exports, we'll have to start from the drawing board. It's not just, before we even talk about what happens at the wharf with customs and all that, we have to even start by the orientation we give to our potential exporters and our exporters. Right now, you can agree with me that it is very easy to export goods more than to import goods. Very attractive. Because any little agricultural product you send out right now, you get your money, and you get more value if you export it. But the issue again is that most of our agricultural produce don't even know what to do and how they will do it. I know that Nigeria Export Processing Zone is also there to help. Export Processing Council is also there to help, but they haven't done enough to be able to have the right thinking of Nigerians to think exportation than importation. We have lost a lot of revenue when we just send out items without even knowing how to process them and the best way to get the right market. You are aware of when we exported yams and all of them got spoiled even before they got to their destinations. Between that time and now, I have not heard of any process we're doing to correct the mistake we've made in the past to enable us to be able to export a thing that we have in excess, which is yam. What have we done to correct the mistake we made so that the yam is not rotten in the containers before they get to their destinations? That's what we should be restarting right now. Even if we don't have the solution, we should be restarting. So it has to be a plan. It has to be a process. And that process is not going to be a quick, just a short one. It has to be a long-term process so that we will keep growing from one thing and one item to another. And then, of course, we need to train and develop all our exporters so that they can know the best thing to do to be able to be very good exporters.
I must thank you very much. Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Dignity Finance and Investment Limited, Dr. Cjijioke Ekechukwu. I really appreciate you. Thank you for always being there for us. Have a great week.
Thank you very much, Solo. I appreciate you too.
All right, then.